Hey guys, my name is Pedram, and I'm a professional practice assistant professor in finance. I'm also a CFA charter holder. This is another episode of my crash course in machine learning concept, simply explained. Now that we know what is random forest, in this episode, part 34, we're going to talk about random forest pros and cons and its application in finance. This is going to be a very short video, so without further ado, let's look into that.
Let's start with the pros. One of the most, so we know that random forest is one of the most widely used ensemble learning algorithm. The reason is that on top of all the advantages that we saw last class for decision trees, it can do the followings. And remember, as a reminder, what were the advantages of decision trees? We said that decision trees can handle categorical data without the use of making them dummy variables. And this helps us a lot in terms of reducing the dimensionality, right? And decision trees can learn nonlinear patterns very effectively by, we know that in a decision tree, each, let's say, imagine, for example, you're looking at the default, this is FICO score. Each variable, each feature can show up multiple times down the tree, right? So FICO here we have, then we have FICO, let's say FICO here. So this is going to capture some nonlinear pattern. So this is decision trees are going to be able to easily capture that nonlinear pattern. And the final one was we didn't need to do any processing, pre-processing the data for decision trees, right? And this was also huge. So we don't need to be worried about, okay, standardization or normalization, which one should we use, min-max normalization, and etc. And then decision trees are non-parametric, so it means that they can be super flexible, right? So they can capture more nonlinear patterns easier compared to other models that we are imposing some functional forms, or we are imposing some distribution for the data. So random forest, on top of all these good advantages of decision trees, can do this thing, can avoid overfitting by reducing the model variance. So this is a big deal, right? And one of the caveats of decision trees was that if you didn't prune them back, they would overfit, and the accuracy of the model was poor in the test set. This random forest can avoid that. Random forests are parallelizable. So what does it mean? It means that if you're working with terabytes of data or data set with millions of records, so we can split them. And so imagine this is your data set. You can split them to multiple sections and then apply a random forest to each. So imagine, I don't know, you have an 8-core CPU. Each core is using one of them, and then we can aggregate over all the predictions at the end of the day. So it's going to be faster when it comes to working with larger data sets. It is great with high dimensionality. Why? Because we said that we don't, well, first of all, it's going to reduce the dimensionality by we don't need to make dummy variables make categorical variables into dummies necessarily. So this is a huge advantage. And random forest in general can handle high dimensional data easily. And finally, quick training and prediction speed, right? Why? Again, because it's going to reduce the dimension of the data. By reducing, I don't mean that for example, it's going to make it from 100 to 50. I said when compared to auto models, and then we have lots of categorical variables, right? So random forests are going to work with a subset of features instead of the entire feature. So it's going to be faster. So are there any disadvantages to random forests? Yes, and we can somehow I don't know, deal with them. So maybe the most important disadvantage of the random forest is that it's not interpretable, right? It lacks the ease of interpretability of the simple decision trees, and it's relatively black box. Why relatively? Because again, we have the feature importance. We can rank the features, but we cannot say anything about the causality, the significance, the magnitude of the effect, and things like that. And finally, it can overfit without tuning the hyperparameters. So it says basically, as you pay attention, overfit can show in both advantage and disadvantage. We said that, okay, it can avoid overfit, but in a disadvantage, you say it can overfit. It can overfit only if you're not tuning hyperparameters. Okay. All right, now let's talk about the applications in finance. And there are lots of applications when it comes to using random forest in finance. And here's just a list of a bunch of them. In factor-based investment strategies for asset allocation and investment selection, we can use random forest. Remember, in decision trees, we said we can use decision trees to come up with asset allocation. For example, what percentage should goes to equity, what percentage goes to fixed income, and then among those equity and fixed income, for example, what sector of the equity, what duration of the fixed income, and things like that. In random forest, we can do the same by looking at the feature importance, right? We can rank the feature importance and then weight the asset allocation based on the ranks of the feature importance. So this is something that we can do. And we can also do the same for investment selection. Then another example is predicting whether an IPO will be successful or not based on some ranked factors, right? So what are the ranked factors? For example, we want to look at the previous IPOs and basically see what was the percentage of oversubscribed. We will say an initial public offering when it is oversubscribed when the number of shares that the investors are requesting more than the shares are offered. So this is oversubscribed. So if the percent oversubscribed is higher, it means that the IPO is more attractive, right? Then we can look at the first trading close price. We can look at the first trading volume. These are all features. At the end of the day, random forest can rank them. And then you can make predictions for a new IPO and then see if it is a good investment or not, right? Again, these examples, there are lots of other examples that you can think of, but these are some of the examples in finance. And then finally, we can use random forest for fundamental factor modeling, right? So we know that out there is a zoo of factors. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of factors out there in finance literature. And when it comes to asset pricing, we don't know which one to use, right? Or at least even among those that the analyst has, they agree on. Let's say, for example, we're doing the stock valuation using some comparables, right? For example, we look at companies' PE, EV/EBITDA, price over sale, price over book ratio, and then we know that it's well known that many analysts use PE ratio to evaluate a stock. But why PE? Why not PO, price over sale? Why not price over booking? And if a combination of them, what percentage, right? So how do we weight these factors? So we can use random forest, and then we can look at the feature importance and then use the weights of the feature importance as a weight for these inputs for the asset pricing. However, when it comes to factor modeling like this using random forest, we know that we're dealing with time series random forest, and it's a little more subtle than our simple random forest. So for example, we cannot do bootstrap, we cannot use our simple cross-validation. We have to make sure that if you're doing bootstrap, we have to use sequential bootstrap or stationary bootstrap. If you're doing cross-validation, we have to apply the cross-validation based on, we have to apply time series cross-validation. So it's going to be a little different, but I just wanted to let you know that if you want to apply random forest, do not apply it blindly to time series data, because there are very, very subtle things when it comes to time series, and you should not just blindly apply any machine learning models to time series. Just pay attention to that.
Okay, so this is the end of our journey in random forest and bagging. In the next episodes, we're going to talk about boosting and the variations of those models. Until the next one, take care.